again. I'm so sorry. I'm a bit late. Zach, you've had to wait a couple of days. I'm very sorry. But hey, we're back with chapter 11, A Girl Called Owl. If you're getting bored, because I've noticed that a few people have dropped off, but those of you that are still listening, if you still want it, I'll keep going. But if you fancy something different, let me know what you would like to hear and I'll see what I can do. Okay, right, so A Girl Called Owl by Amy Wilson, and we're up to chapter 11, and I'm going to do chapter 12 as well, and in between there's a bit of a woo-y bit where she goes off into that other dreamland, dream world. Okay, here we go, chapter 11. I've made a decision. I don't know quite where it came from, but something about today has made everything turn in my head. Like if anything can happen, then maybe I should be trying to make the things I want to happen. I think of Alberic staring up the wind, telling me we have something in common. The frost in my hair, the rush of the autumn leaves. He knows far more than I do about it all. And then I think of Mallory, who has no control in what's going on at home. And honestly, none of it makes sense. My normal day was about as far as you can get from normal. So I've eaten my leftover dal like a good girl tonight, and Mum's got half an eye on me, but most of her mind is on her work, and I've told her I'm going to revise for the maths test next week, when really I'm doing some research. Yep, I'm Googling Jack Frost. There's a film where he's a boy, a guardian of the world. Then there are loads of images of him as an old man, laying his hands on the outspread leaves of winter trees, drawing icicles out of guttering ceiling windows with a touch. When does Frost actually appear? Is it really all down to one person? How could one person cover the whole of the world? Because it's always winter somewhere, isn't it? I get lost in my research, and I find out more than I ever thought I'd know about frost. Okay, it's water vapour, basically, which condenses as ice on things like grass and rooftops. But still none of it helps me to work out why I'm prone to breaking out in my own private weather storm, and it doesn't help me to control it either. It's happened a few times today, nothing too dramatic, just a feeling that creeps up on me. And then there it is, kind of beautiful, frosted fractal shapes on the skin between my fingers and along my jawbone. Owl, are you still working in there? I click off Google and I pull my book towards me. Yes? Do you want a hot drink? No, thanks. I'm going to work for a bit longer. She pokes her head in, her eyes slightly distracted as they always are when she's stuck in on something. Don't be too late, love. School tomorrow. Okay. She pauses, looking me up and down. Is everything all right? Yeah, just working. Well, go careful. Is she psychic? Wouldn't surprise me. Either way, she leads me to it, and after a few minutes I have a really stupid idea. I'm going to find him. It's crazy. How does a person go about finding a fairy tale character? I mean, he's not just going to be dancing over the rooftops, is he? Is he? I've tried to tell myself it's all rubbish, but Mum doesn't lie. And normal girls don't cry ice, don't stare out of dark windows imagining what it would be really like if they found Jack Frost and that he was really their father. So I have to try. And if it is really, all real, then there will be something between us, won't there? Some sort of frost connection that will lead me to him, or him to me. It's worth a try. I can't just sit here forever anyway, wondering, questioning myself and everything I've ever known. My scalp itches with irritation as I fret over it, and when I go to scratch, my hair is crisp with frost. That decides it. I pull on a dark jumper and my boots, and I prowl through the flat like a burglar, creeping out of the door when I'm sure Mum is back upstairs in the studio. Bitterly cold outside, and it rained earlier in the evening, so there are puddles in all the gutters. I tread in one by accident as I head across the road, making for the suspension bridge, and when I look down, the water is freezing all around my foot. I reach down to touch it, and where my fingers meet the ice, little veins of white appear spreading across the surface. Wow! I look around, afraid somebody will be watching, but nobody's about. It's nearly midnight and it's too cold for anyone to want to be outside. I tread through all the puddles I can find, a thrill rushing through me every time I turn back to see a trail of frozen water I'm leaving behind me. I jump into the next big one, feeling a bit foolish and a bit excited, completely gobsmacked, when a cloud of pale ice crystals rise up around me on impact, shining in the night air before drifting to the ground. It's like being in a snow globe, my very own little world, all of ice. And for a moment I'm so mesmerised, I forget about my mission. And then the moon breaks through the clouds and the world seems to blaze silver around me. And I remember Jack. I run on, every so often looking around to see the traces of winter I've left behind. The moon seems to urge me onward, and my feet fly faster and faster as the world around me sparkles silver with the new frost. By the time I get to the bridge, adrenaline is pumping through my body, a hot, cold sensation I've never known before. I lean against the railing, looking up at the moon, a grin spreading over my face at the infinite possibilities that suddenly seem spread out before me. If there is magic in the world, then this is it, and I'm part of it. The feeling thrills through me, and then a creaking sound breaks the silence behind me. When I turn, the whole of the railing has been wrapped in a thick layer of ice that cascades to the bridge itself, sparkling in the moonlight and throwing jagged new shapes on the hard, frost-covered ground. My fingers look almost like they were cast in ice themselves as they grip the railing, as my heart pounds and the ice spreads further until it feels like I could cover the world with it, standing here forever, just watching the magic take over. This is Jack's power. This is mine. What is this? Demands a voice. I spin to see who's speaking, but nobody's there. What are you? What do you do here? I look around again, trying to find the source of the voice. It's not a whisper exactly, but it's not quite normal speech either. It sounds more like the hissing of an old steam train than anything else. Answer me. I can't. I don't know. There's a soft booming sound and the whole bridge seems to vibrate. I look down to the other end and I can see it, a tide of ice coming right at me. And not only on the railings, not only a thin frost of it on the ground, but a great swell, a roaring wall of ice blooming over everything, jagged ridges of it forming on either side and a swathe through the middle. The lights on the bridge make the whole thing glow, and then finally I see a shadowy figure stalking towards me, his arms held low and wide as if conducting. Oh, help! I step back, but I'm too late. The tide swells and bursts around me, and I don't think. I just leap up out of its path, landing awkwardly on warped ridges of ice thicker than I've ever seen. I balance myself, my heart tripping in my chest as he gets closer, and I tell myself, this is what I wanted. It's what I gambled on. I stand in his path, my fists clenched at my sides. It's Jack Frost. He's nothing like I would ever have imagined. Taller, wider, more powerful than any of Mum's stories warned me. The air around him blurs with 1,000 little shards of ice. His dark hair is tipped with frost, his eyebrows thick with it. He is pale-skinned, the angles in his face accentuated by the blue tinge in the hollows of his cheekbones and beneath his eyes. Are you Jack Frost? My small voice rings out, surprising both of us. Some call me thus, he says, leaning forward to study me, his gaze fierce. And you? You have been making your own small winter here. What creature are you? Do you seek to challenge me? He tilts his head to one side, his movements all slightly too fast, too stilted. A hungry grin sending a shiver down my spine. You may if you wish. I like a challenge, and you may be worthy. I could hear your play 1,000 miles away. I take a step back. This is not a man. This is not a father. This is an elemental creature who thinks I challenge him. There's nothing in his face of kindness or humanity. Nothing I can find there to relate to. He thinks I'm a creature like him, but I'm not. I'm just not. I turn and run, and there's a crack of brittle laughter behind me, and my whole body is ringing with the shock of it all, my mind a fizzing, confused storm of too many images and too many emotions. I run as fast as I can, for as long as I can, and then I collide with something, and everything goes black. This was his part of the world, he told her, and there had never been another like her there before. For centuries since the Norsemen first named him, he had been alone there, his only companions the wolves of winter and the owl who appeared when he had work to do. She would call him back to her world, he said, and there he would lay the first traces of winter, signalling to all nature that it was time to rest. It was in her world that he would meet with his brothers and sisters, he told her, while they walked in the mountains. The air was cold and sharp, and her breath steamed before her, but his did not. All the world around them was an extension of him. There was no part of him that did not fit there. If he was like no man she had ever known, then his family were wilder, stranger than he by far. They were the powers of the world, names learned in legend and fable. They were all of Mother Earth's devising, the north wind that spreads the clouds and whips up the seas, roaring in full storms, and at other times with only a whisper playing among autumn trees and rattling at the windows. The Queen of May, who heralded new beginnings, and Lady Midday, who brought heatwave and summer madness, the autumnal Earl of October, and the wise old green man and the Lady of the Lake, who has her own kingdom beneath clear waters. Oh, he did not see them often, he told her, only when they were called to Mother Earth's court by the lesser spirits, the winged fairies and the tiny nimble sprites, all in tribes allegiant to air or fire, water or earth, that they remember their duty to her and do their work as it should be done. Even in chaos there is order, he said, everything leading to another, keeping the world alive. We are part of that cycle. She did not know if she was awake or if she dreamed. She did not question as he held her hand and led her safe up crumbling, shifting hills of snow as the light changed and the blue-white shadows over the land grew longer beneath the pale sun. She listened to his stories and heard his loneliness, and her own heart panged, for she knew that she was only a brief interlude for him and he for her. It does not change, he said, looking out over the lake. All is still here, all is quiet. Sometimes it is what I need when I have been in the world of men and seen the creep of concrete, the swell of smoke on the horizon. And sometimes I am angry when I am here, for it is my prison. And when I am let out of it, it is only to do my duty. I cannot make the world a different place. I can only do just as I should. It is all I am, all I was made for. And yet, she said, finding her voice in a cloud of steam, and yet you have some power and liberty. You have form and feeling. Does that not count? Does that not make you capable of something more than your limits? He did not answer her then. His silver eyes gleamed as he looked down at her. And then he swept her up with him, sliding and tumbling down the hill, landing in a spray of snow and ice. And she flailed on that frozen lake, but he did not. His bare feet were firm as though they were on solid ground, and as the sun set, turning the whole world a rose gold pink, he showed her how to dance.